We have Raquel Medrano Clemente, who is a transformational and leadership coach. She has over 2 decades of experience in building and reinventing businesses from the ground up. She works with corporate executives and business owners and helps them to expand their leadership, align their organizations, transform their relationships with what is possible, and to achieve unprecedented results. Now, we have been talking a lot over the last few years about unprecedented times. But, what does it actually look like when we talk about the causing of unprecedented results? Raquel's worked across a variety of different industries, from construction, mining, banking, education and finance, and has an extensive experience and knowledge also in the not-for-profit sector. And she sat on many boards for education and not-for-profits, including chair positions. So I'm really delighted today to be able to invite Raquel up to share some of her story and her passion for transformation, and certainly also the way she's able to cut across cultures. So please join me in welcoming Raquel.
Hello. Welcome. Thank you for having me here. What a privilege. Well, you will hear, I have an accent. So I am from South America, and I have been in Australia for 20 years. So look, my story, I relate to so much on what has been shared already. And I was born 2 years into a military coup in Argentina. So that just from the beginning. Then after that, a war broke out in my country. I am a child of immigrants, survivors, war survivors. And I was born into a narrative of struggle. And when I say narrative, I tie back to what already Luis and Shona have said. There was this conversation in my life about struggle. In my family, you didn't get what you wanted. You didn't even get to want anything. And at the age of 15, I had to start working to help my family financially. I considered dropping out of school. It just got a bit too hard, but I decided against it. And my grades started falling dramatically as a result. I was in middle school, working 2 jobs, evenings and weekends, sleeping sometimes 4 hours a night and falling asleep in class. And I hated that because I used to love school. I was a really good student. But I was lucky compared to my mom, who had to leave school at the age of 9, and she was put to work. And her mom only went to school until the age of 7. My father's mother, on the other side, whom I never met, never learned how to read or write. I was the only girl in my family, and it became clear to me that my role was to be of service. And my highest value as a woman was my image. I had to be pretty and thin. So one day, someone would want to marry me. So marry I did, not because I wanted to, but because it seemed to matter to everyone around me and to be the natural next step. I had 4 kids, my choice and my pride, and I immersed myself in the life of the perfect wife and the perfect mother. We moved around the world with his work, and I adapted. But soon after my youngest turned 2, I just couldn't take it anymore. I was so unhappy. I didn't know what my life was about, but I knew for a fact that this wasn't it. I loved and I still love being a mom above all things. But man, I had lost myself in that never-ending role of supporting others, as we women do sometimes. Certainly I did. I lost count of how many dreams I didn't allow myself to dream, going to university, having a career, expressing myself freely in a world that got me for who I was. And instead, I tried too hard to mold myself into a life that seemed to be the only alternative. 10 years ago, I was 34. That year, my mama died. And after years of therapy, my marriage ended. I lost my house, everything I had. I found myself in a foreign country, raising very young children in a foreign language, in a foreign culture. And I was facing a new beginning. It's hard for me to explain the process of transformation, but look at a butterfly. In order to become a butterfly, the caterpillar sets camp and it builds a cocoon and commits to falling apart completely. it decomposes down to its very essence. And from this state, the butterfly starts to put itself together. To transform, we must allow ourselves that self that we think we are to disappear so that a new self can emerge. But again, I'll say it again, you have to be brave, you have to be courageous, because transformation is not change. The caterpillar doesn't become a bigger caterpillar or a faster caterpillar. It becomes something but a caterpillar. And that is the beauty and the risk of transformation, because life as you know it is no more. It was around this time in my life that I was introduced to the work of transformation, the same as the others here. I did the Landmark Forum. And I got to see for the first time ever that I didn't need to be defined by my story or my circumstances, that I did have a say in how my life went from then on, that I didn't need a university degree to have value as a person, that having kids didn't mean that I was stuck in life with no choice. I discovered that I could create myself newly moment by moment, no matter what life threw at me. So I decided to start a business. I built a house. I started investing. I studied new things. I met someone with whom I could see myself building a life again. Only a couple of years into that relationship, he died. And my body didn't cope with the grief all too well. So I developed a chronic health condition. I put on 20 kilos, which is 40 pounds for you, all of you in America. And then the pandemic hit, and while all of that could have driven me to a constant space of disempowerment, I found myself creating myself newly over and over again. I grew my business. I joined boards. I studied with an American elite business school, and I even reached out to one of the top transformational consulting firms in the world. And I said, hey, I'd love to work with you. And they said, yes. So I joined them this year. I became the parent of 4 teenagers. And I love it. I constantly ask myself, what's next? And I create a future that pulls me into action at any point. I don't get stuck anymore. I create opportunities rather than wait for them to show up, not only for myself, but for others. And now I am free to be a contribution to others, not from a place of service, but as an opportunity, rather than a burden or an obligation. And I also get to be the space in which others see a new future for themselves and create. I actually made up my life's purpose through my work as a transformational coach. And I am so fortunate to have daily conversations like this one for what's possible, not only with individuals, but with entire organizations. Conversations that not only change the world, but create a brand new one